Hey guys, Jason here. Welcome back to another video here on the second channel. And today we're going to be starting a new series here on the second channel entitled JoJo Yap. Today we're going to be starting a review of the good anime known as JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. So today we're going to be starting with part 1. And then as I watch more of the parts, I'm going to be reviewing them here on the second channel. So let's actually get started with the video. So yes, part 1. So part 1 starts, it takes place in the late 1800s. We get to meet our first JoJo, who is Jonathan Joestar. We get to meet the part 1 villain known as Dio. We also get to meet later in the part EO Speedwagon and Bear and Sepali. I'm not going to spoil every single thing for you if you haven't watched this show yet, but all I will say is the beginning of part 1, the first 3 episodes are really good. JoJo and all I will say is JoJo or Jonathan Joestar and Dio, they become friends at first. They're really good friends, but something happens, and then JoJo and by the time episode 3 happens, Jonathan Joestar and Dio, let's just say they're not friends anymore. And yeah, the first 3 episodes are pretty dope. There are 9 episodes total, so if you haven't watched it, when you get to episode 4, I believe it's 4, 5, 6, and pretty much the rest of part 1 until the last 2 episodes, yeah, everything's just kind of mid and boring. In episode 4, we get introduced to the power system that's only going to be used for part 1 and part 2. Once we get part 3, there will be another power system which is way better. It's called they're called stands, but in part 1 and part 2, you have to deal with something called Hamon. And yeah, so in I believe it's episode 4. That all starts getting introduced throughout episode 4 and probably episode 5. And then episode 6, it's a pretty boring episode, so get ready for that. And then once you get to episode 8, that's when it kind of starts to get peak again. We have another fight, or the final fight, I should say, between JoJo and Dio. And yeah, when you get to that fight, it's really good. I like it. So yeah, if you already haven't watched this or part 1 yet, then you should start watching it, because I've heard that it only gets better from here. Well, besides, like, I heard part 3 is really, really long, because there are so many stand fights, but we'll talk about that. We'll talk about that, in the part 3 video, when we get to that. So, last episode, all I'll say is, Jonathan Joestar is dead, and, when part 2 comes around, we get a new, JoJo, and his name is Joseph Joestar. So, yeah. So now I've been starting to watch, part 2. So, when I do the part 2 video, I'll tell you which protagonist, I think I like better. I'll tell you if I either like, Jonathan Joestar better or, Joseph Joestar. And then of course all the other parts, we'll get to all their things once I've watched them and, done the videos on them. So yeah, that is a review of part 1. Oh yeah, and there's gonna be a ranking systems, kind of like the tier list, like what I do. It's gonna be in between bad, good, or it's gonna be bad, mid, good, and dope, and awesome, peak, dope. Part 1, I'm gonna say that's mid. The reason why I'm gonna say Phantom Blood or part 1, because Phantom Blood is the name of the part. Reason why I think it's mid is because, again, love the first 3 episodes, especially the first episode, like, and episode 3. When we get those first fights with Dio and JoJo, those episodes are really good. And then we had kind of the bad filler episodes, like probably like episode 4 to 6, and a little bit of 7. And then that final fight, dude, peak. So that's why I'm going to say part 1, or Phantom Blood, is mid. Not because there are good parts, there are bad parts. It's not all bad, but, and see, I mean, my rankings might change, after I watch more episodes, but for now, it's gonna stay at mid. And I feel like when I do the final video, because there's 8 parts. Well, there's gonna be 9 parts, but part 9 is not finished yet. But there's gonna be 6 parts of the anime, which I'm gonna watch. Then part 7 is a fan dub, and then part 8 and part 9 are gonna be the manga. So, once I get done with all the JoJo stuff, which is gonna take a while, and I mean a while, like months. Once I get done with all the JoJo stuff, I will let you know, like, all my final rankings for all the parts, because, again, those rankings, as we go forward, some of those rankings might change. So, I'll just let you guys know the final ranking when I get to that, which will be a while. But yeah, for part 1 right now, it's mid, and I can't wait to see what part 2 has to offer. I've already watched the first episode, so I know. So I did get introduced to, what is it? Joseph Joestar. So, yeah. But once I finish all the episodes for part 2, which is a little longer than part 1, but because part 1 was 9 episodes, and part 2, I believe, is like 15 or 16 episodes. So, once I get done with part 2, which will probably take a little longer than part 1, then I'll let you guys know. And then part 3, you guys probably won't be seeing a video for a little bit, because, again, that part is so long. I think there are like 48 episodes, and there are so many stand fights, man. And some of it, I mean, a lot of it is kind of just filler, but there are some peak stuff in there. Like, I heard, like, especially, like, when I get to, like, the second half of part 3, I've heard that's when it actually starts to kind of get good. And, that's when, yeah. So, part 2, you'll probably be seeing that video soon. And then part 3, yeah, again, that's going to take a while. And then, we'll go from there. So, yeah, I could, sit here and just yap. But I think it's about time we wrap up the video now. So, if you like the video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and if you haven't, go watch some JoJo. If you like weird and, out-of-pocket stuff, go watch some JoJo. You'll love it. And let me know if, in the comments, if you watch the video, let me know if I was the one that converted you to JoJo. And if so, then, yeah, good for you. Because I've heard it's only going to get better from here. So, just, we'll see. Anyway, I think I've yapped enough. So, if you like the video, give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to, The Randomness of Jason McDaniel. And subscribe to my main channel if you are interested in that content. And, I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.